Channels being stopped
People
from
have to
airing.
ask themselves so what is it? We talk about freedom of speech. What is freedom of speech? Really, what is it? What do we think it is, and what is it actually?
Identified according to the gold standard of virology, which is Koch's postulate. It's still not been isolated. Because of the fear we were told of how many deaths were going to arise, the government basically said that you have to give us some of your freedom.
I've actually found out something else. Are you aware of the lady who went and got a crime number from West Yorkshire Police a couple of weeks ago? That went viral.
Do you want to know what it is?
Yes! Yes! We're back, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, welcome to everybody that's on YouTube. I just want to say hello, welcome to the holy grail of all meetups, basically. FEB live at the Manchester conference, Birmingham, the Birmingham conference with Martin Liedker, and we got. Can you hear that? Can you hear that, YouTube? Can you hear those people in the background? You can see them there in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. So we are live. We're doing the Wide Awake show live, actually live in front of a live studio audience, and we've got a guest with us today, Phil, our very good friend from Russia. We're gonna be talking about some quite interesting stuff with Phil. I'm just gonna say, Roxanne, how are you doing, babe?
We're all good. Thank you so much for joining us, Rich. We're loving it. We're absolutely loving it. It's an amazing vibe with everyone today. You can feel the love and energy in the room. It's absolutely electric. Thanks so much for joining us on the Wide Awake show today. Joined for the very first time in front of a live audience, may I say. We've got Martin Liedker here. We've got some awesome other people in the audience, some familiar faces. Thank you so much for doing this, Martin.
My pleasure. Care off the Great Reset Convention, the Wide Awake show.
Love it, love it. I came on to, was it, what one was it? Was it the first or the second one I came to in Cardiff? Was it the first? Was that the second?
In the tour?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first. That was what kicked it off, yeah.
Yes, from the first and now to here. How are you feeling having done all of these dates and all of these locations and shown all of these amazing people, all of this amazing history that wasn't taught to us?
Well, honestly, proper shattered.
I don't blame you. The amount of love and energy you put into this is absolutely phenomenal. So can we all put our hands together for Martin and all of his efforts for this country?
Thank you, guys. Much love to you all. Thanks.
So we have got a few things that we want to go through with you all today on the show. I'm going to hand over to Rich now to introduce one of our awesome guests. It's a friend of the show's. Over to you, Rich.
Right, yeah. So thank you very much, Roxanne. We've got with us today our friend from Russia, Mr. Philip. I'm going to pronounce. I know I'm going to pronounce this wrong. It's Druznin, is it? Is that right?
It's kind of like that.
Druzhenian, I think. Druzhenian.
Right. Well, anyway, Phil's over in Russia, and obviously, with what's going on at the moment, with the whole thing over in UK reign, it's quite relevant. We've got really sort of severed communications between that part of the earth and ourselves, and what we want to do is we want to look at how everything is connecting. We've got everybody, we've got all these different groups here in the truth community, and all of them connect. Everything connects. We're all connected. Everything we're talking about is all connected, and so we're trying to make it make sense, basically, with the Wide Awake show. Phil, I'm going to hand over to you and let you say hi to people. I need to shut up.
Yeah, thanks a lot for inviting. I'm not kept here as a hostage. I'm from Russia, from Moscow. So everybody, hello.
Thank you so much for joining us, Philip. For those that are watching in the audience in person, and for those that are online watching us as well, can you give us a bit of background about how you've come to talk about the subjects that you are talking about? Tartaria, mud floods, Great Reset.
You want me to do that?
Yes, please.
The mud flood.
Well, that's a long story. Probably started in 1990s. Yeah, when I was like
Wow.
16 or something. When we first climbed downstairs and found out that some ancient tunnels are hidden beyond the city's, depth and so on. So it wasn't sewers, by the way, although the smell was nasty. And yes, we had a lot of investigations when I was in my hometown of Omsk, but nobody believed that we would be starting something that is right now called as mud flood and Tartaria research. It was back in the days, So I don't know if you're familiar with Russia and the configuration and the map and so on. So Omsk is right in the middle. We have a city of Tara nearby and the river of Tara. So more closely to Tartaria, I've never been, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
It's input like this that we are trying to show you all. It's not a hot pocket of things just in the UK or maybe just in America because of all the states and it being such a big country. This subject has gone throughout the international community. There are people all across the earth, I can't say planet, world. You've got to keep yourself in check, with these words. Across the plane. There are people that are going around looking at architecture. There are people that are making massive changes in their lives because they've realized they've been lied to in the worst way possible about who they are, where they come from, and why we're here. So again, I think this is going to be a nice display for you today as to how all of these topics come into each other and all come under the housing of the biggest lie ever told, which is where we live. So over to you, Rich.
Right. So, right, what we've got going on at the moment in the Ukraine is nobody knows. No, there's so many different narratives about what's going on. Nobody actually truly knows what's going on. Even people that are there, because they're clamping down on the narrative so hard, and we have to wonder, why are they clamping down on it so hard? What are the connections to everything that we're looking at? There's all this talk about human trafficking and all of that horrible stuff. What a really good way to do that in secret is using tunnels, using existing infrastructure under the ground that none of us know about and none of us have ever known about. It's not just dams that, half of these dams that they say they've built, it could be very easily argued that those dams are already there and all they've done is they've adapted them. So that everything is linking together in every possible way, from the language used to describe it to the events that are taking place to each of us individually. So I don't know where to start, really. We were talking about Odessa, weren't we?
Yeah.
And we don't want to go too much into it all, but Phil has actually done his own research. He knows about Odessa and he's a lot closer to Odessa than we are. So Phil, can you tell us what you know about, because you one of the first things you said was that it's not just about the tunnels underneath. Odessa is actually quite an interesting place itself. So can you?
It's a place of it.
Officially, if you research the subject of Odessa catacombs, you probably find out that they're kind of the longest catacombs in the world. But the way they were constructed, officially, they say that they had this sewing procedure when they saws, brought saws, by the way, from the Britain, and it was like 1830s, 1840s. So they were cutting this seashell rock. If you know, this kind of material could be used in construction. But the official explanation doesn't actually work if you look at it closely, because they say there's a bunch of tunnels there, of course, and they even say that one-handed saw can create such a volume of extraction of rock. But actually, the rock itself looks a lot more prettier than the explanation of how that rock was officially taken from these catacombs, because the rock is probably perfect. Sometimes it's it just looks very good, and all these constructions have zero gap in between those bricks and so on. So sometimes it's very hard to explain. This is the example of modern rock that is extracted the same way from the same catacombs, and as you can see, it has this saw marks on it. The ancient rock itself doesn't have it. As you can see, it's rather kind of the same. So that's the way they do it right now. So this is all mechanical way, and they use this mechanical automatic electrical saws, and that's the way they do it. And what they tell us is just imagine the volume of the rock that was taken, they extracted from beneath. They say it's like 2,500 miles long tunnels, the longest in Europe. So how can you do it manually? It's impossible. The other explanation that they used this rock to construct the buildings of the city of Odessa, but would you do any rock extraction from beneath the streets of the city? They even have this record of like 100 or more sinkholes in the 19th century in Odessa. So, I mean, this is ridiculous. If they didn't have any geological intelligence on how this underground all works, if they didn't have any drilling, probes, examination and so on, how did they know that all this stuff that they're gonna build with this rock, this material, this cheap material, that's the economics of it? So you extract it from here and you bring it up and construct it. That's the only economic explanation of the officials. But would you be doing that with this expensive property of yours? Would you be putting it on risk that it's all gonna be go down to the sinkhole and collapse? So this is ridiculous. And all these tunnels, they go all the way to Odessa region where no buildings are constructed at all. And even partisan, these Russian Soviet troops during World War II were in these catacombs. They were hiding in them. Nobody could have, look at the way these blocks are cut today, and they don't look very pretty as those ancient blocks did. Ancient blocks don't look manual. They have a better quality than current machinery quality.
Yeah.
So,
but they have the same tool marks. Maybe
no,
on a larger scale.
ancient blocks don't have tool marks at all. They have perfect masonry on the ancient ones. Look at this.
Except in Malta.
Well, I don't know about Malta. We're talking about the Odessa catacombs right now. So I'm talking about
true. It's true.
So I don't know if you have any questions on that anymore.
So yeah, if anyone has any questions,
why did they have all these tunnels below the cities? The best explanation is the modern technology of air conditioning. What is the modern technology of air conditioning? The most advanced one is when they use the heat and the cold from the underground, right? Because it's always cooler underground when it is upstairs, right?
Yeah.
So that's why they had all these tunnels back then. So, I mean, they were using them as air conditioners, as natural air conditioners. And these facades that were used, they look the way that everything was rather hot back in the days. And I don't know if I have any more pictures on this one. So as you can see, this red mark shows this technical floor that probably had some machinery there. And right now, all these machines are taken out. So we don't know how all this air was circulating without any heating system or air conditioning system. So some might think this is crazy, but who knows if we actually didn't build these houses, or we were put in these houses as a reset population. Okay, when the people are just disappear somewhere, like we had during the COVID pandemics, right? Nobody's on the streets. Just imagine if all these people were brought from the streets, from these towns, somewhere into the camps, facilities where all these people can be concentrated, because the territory of the city is, some type of quarantine, right? So, and the new population comes and they found all these basement floors, tunnels, everything, right? Which cannot be explained with official theories, because as long as you understand the mechanism of how this was constructed, how many tools they're supposed to have to do this underground work, how many, geometry, blueprints, and all this math can be, you're supposed to have tons of papers of blueprints to construct something, and they don't.
The thing that picture, if you just go back to those bricks again, do we know when are they saying that this was constructed?
Well, they say about Odessa, if we talk about Odessa, they say it was all constructed in the 19th century. Like, presumably, I'm thinking of a mud flood of 19th century, which was happening in 1820, 1840s, something in between. It wasn't happening simultaneously worldwide. No. Whoever tells you this is lying. It's a step-by-step operation, certain region by certain region, step by step. So
that's what I think as well. I think for it to believe that it all happened in one great big huge event is a bit unrealistic. I think it's happened because we see sea levels rising and falling in different areas and it doesn't make sense as well. So the way the waters have risen in some areas, you'd expect them to have dropped, and in other areas they've dropped when there's no real explanation for it. But those bricks, if the story is that was constructed, those bricks were put there in the 1840s or whatever. We know that bricks weren't manufactured until the 1850s. Their manufacturing didn't start until the 1850s. So I'm thinking of this thanks to Sven, who has brought this up himself about where did all these bricks come from? Because they could work out how many bricks they could make in a week, with how many bricks each person could make in a week. And if you think how many bricks are here, when did they start planning the construction to start hand making all these bricks? Because I think the chances are that these bricks were actually put here before they ever started actually manufacturing them. And that was in England. I mean, I don't actually know. As far as I'm aware, that is an international thing. Bricks were not manufactured until they started to be manufactured in the UK in the 1850s. So do you know something different in Russia? Were they manufacturing bricks earlier in Russia and we just weren't ever told about it?
Well, officially, yes. You also might find links to 18th century, 19th century, but sometimes you can find a construction which has a granite type of facing. But actually, when this facade falls off, you find out that it's constructed from the bricks, and it's 17th century. So I mean, creation of bricks, production of bricks is not very technological, but it's technological to keep these bricks solid and safe for hundreds and hundreds of years. Okay, that's the question. Not the creation of bricks, which could be done with some primitive instruments and some skills of certain people. The quality of the bricks is a question, because if the compound that they use is not fine enough.
The clay. It's all about the clay that's used. Absolutely.
Exactly. The clay and the technology, right? Because you have the simple technology, which can be okay for outskirts of London, you can build a mansion there with these types of bricks, and that's be fine for century. I don't know, for 2 centuries. But when you talk about places which get flooded each year, which interact with water and humidity, and these bricks are fine, then these bricks are waterproof. And then you go to details of production waterproof bricks, right? If you talk about atmospheric energy, people talk about how did they use this or that energy, talking about air conditioning and so on. Where did they get this electricity back then? They might have been used atmospheric energy, and bricks could be used as a capacitor. Even right now, they invented a new technology of containing electricity in bricks using some nanoparticles when they add it up in a mixture in this clay. So I mean, so could be doing the ancients, right?
You've raised a lot of very, very interesting points, Philip, and I'm hoping that everyone's absorbing this. And if you do have any questions as we go through, we will have a bit of a Q&A session at the end of the show where you'll be able to ask Philip, myself, Richard, Martin, and Dave Murphy, wherever you are. I'm going to get you as well. And Mr. Mark Devlin over there as well. I'm going to get you before the end of the show too. So yeah, a lot of valid points. I just want to raise an issue as well, that internationally, the military have been training to fight underground for the past few years. There may be people that have looked into this already, and if you haven't done so, I would urge you to go and look into it. They've been training for years to fight underground in tunnels in enclosed environments, and I find it quite odd. I don't believe in coincidences. I think we've heard that already today. And in somewhere like Odessa, where you've got the spillover onto the streets that you have, and the narrative and the propaganda that's going out from Ukraine at the moment, I think there's more to be looked at than meets the eye. I think we've raised the point about human trafficking, child trafficking, and obviously the biolabs that have been reported to be in Ukraine for the most biggest disinformation campaign that modern history's seen. So yeah, I would urge you to look into that as well. And again, if there's any points that Philip has raised today or Richard has raised today that you've got any questions for, we will bring a quick Q&A at the end of the show. So we've been
let me jump in with Ukraine a little bit about Ukraine, because you're telling like Ukraine has some tunnels where people being child trafficked. No, Ukraine is officially child trafficking. Understand this. They're not hiding. They're not hiding at all. And they use this for years, all these 30 years of independence. So, I mean, more prostitutes than you have from Ukraine, you don't have from any other country. More child trafficking, more, organ trafficking, you don't have from any other country. So they use it as a playground, as a sandbox for all this new technology like biolabs. If you heard about this new information that popped up with Hunter Biden and his foundation that he was managing with, and which is connected to Democratic Party. And they've been funding several organizations that have been also connected to Pentagon and CIA and other organizations and foundations within them. So all these people were establishing a network of biolabs, researching all these deadly diseases you can name, including coronavirus. So
it's an ugly truth, but a truth nevertheless. And as I said, these are like layers of the onion of truth, that it's like a dark red pill, if you will. And we are trying to keep some of this as safe as possible to stay on YouTube. We want this content to stay on YouTube if possible.
It's all right. He's saying it's a thing.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah, good. Go for it. Go for it, Phil.
Are you? Sorry, I missed that. Who are you handing to me?
Either one of you. Sorry, I've got a lag on my end, which is why my camera's not on. So
Yeah, I think I've got a little lag there as well. So really, right, because what I opened was with, we want to try and connect everything together. How is it all connected together? And that basically, it's all about what people think's going on. I mean, the one way that everything's connected is that absolutely everything that's out there, they're trying desperately to control the narrative of. It doesn't matter what it is, they're getting out in front of it and trying to control the narrative. So we can take this back to hidden history. They're controlling the narrative of our story leading up to this point now. And that goes right the way back to, where we're living. They're controlling the narrative so that they control our perception of where we live. What we need to do is have the way they're controlling our narrative is through controlling our perception. If they can control our perception, that's our reality, isn't it? So if they've always told us that knowledge is power. Well, the more you know, the more your perception changes of something. If you find out things that you didn't know about something, it can totally change your perception of it. So, for example, there are two different stories about Aleister Crowley, who Mark Devlin was speaking about earlier. One of them paints him as a Satanist, and one of them paints him as somebody that was actually trying to do something good by when he was messing around doing the incantations. He got interrupted by his mentor, who called him up and said, "You have to come and see me, you have to come and see me." And so stupidly, Aleister Crowley dropped everything that he was doing right in the middle of an incantation. And after that, the Loch Ness Monster appeared, and all of that horrible stuff appeared around the cottage that he was doing it in. So that's because of a little bit of extra information that people don't hear. It changes the perception of Aleister Crowley completely, and that they've always known this. That's why they've been that's why they're so desperately controlling what we're able to share with each other. They don't want us talking to each other because of what we know. It's we need to get in front of them, basically. Listen, guys, I've just had my timer go off because we're trying to be very together with this, because it's a conference. We've got time scales and we're already running late. So that is our halfway point, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't know if we're still planning to do this. What did you want to do now, Rox?
Yeah, you can do the little break, and if it works, it works. Hopefully it will work on the playback as well. So we just ask our audience to bear with us. We do have some tech issues, but we are doing things for the purposes of recording. So yeah, if you just bear with us, we're going to do a little bit of a couple of minute filler and then start off on the next section.
The thing is, the reason we want to do this is because we want to actually showcase these musical artists who are also truthers. They're trying to share the truth through their music. I'm an artist, I'm a musician, and I've done the same. I've tried to share some truth through my music. So we really want to showcase these people. We do it pretty much every time on our show. But the first tune is coming from Mr. Red Pill Trill. We'll see you in 4 minutes or so.
Yeah, this is gonna be a bit mad, like the way I've written it and that. Do you know where we go from here? Do you know where we go from here? I got no idea. It just feels like we're going round in circles. Tell me, do you feel the same? And nothing seems to change. I know they say patience is a virtue. I just wanna turn the page. Are we living in a cage? This world got me feeling like a germ. What's the aim of the game? How'd I stay in my lane when progression moves slower than the turn? Where we go from here? I got no idea. It just feels like we're going round in circles. Tell me, do you feel the same? And nothing seems to change. I know they say patience is a virtue. I just wanna turn the page. Are we living in a cage? This world got me feeling like a germ. What's the aim of the game? How'd I stay in my lane when progression moves slower than the turn? Where'd we go from here? Do you know where we go from here? Do you know? Is the question. I'm just looking for directions. Let's say the blind leads the blind. What's the use to your eyes if everywhere you look there's deception? Designed to walk in perception. The lies get applauded, but the truth gets an awkward reception. Critical thought is a weapon, or that's how it feels when you're caught in possession. Won't be a good slave. Ignore the oppression. Got fire in your soul. They call it aggression. They even want us in the morgue or detention. Form of depression or distorted connections. Turn your daughter into a whore with infections. Got your son thinking drug lords is profession. The ones enforcing the laws never mention. Judges watching child porn with a morbid obsession. Probably snorting raw before the court is in session. Where do we go? Where do we go from here? Do you know where we go from here? Sick of living in a war zone like it's Baghdad. My ex threw everything I owned in a black bag. I broke a phone, she spat in my bowl like I'd have that. I grabbed her by the throat and I spat back. Trying to type a postcode into the sat nav, but had nowhere else to go, so I scratched that and just sat there, looking up at the sky with a blank stare. There's no solid foundations, just stand here. Noisy neighbors, racists and shanks here. Limitations, maces and tanks here. Starvation and slaves to the bank here. I feel skanked here. No. Where we go from here, I got no idea. It just feels like we're going round in circles. Tell me, do you feel the same? And nothing seems to change. I know they say patience is a virtue. I just wanna turn the page. Are we living in a cage? This world got me feeling like a germ. What's the aim of the game? How'd I stay in my lane when progression moves slower than the turn? Where we go from here, I got no idea. It just feels like we're going round in circles. Tell me, do you feel the same? And nothing seems to change. I know they say patience is a virtue. I just wanna turn the page. Are we living in a cage? This world got me feeling like a germ. What's the aim of the game? How'd I stay in my lane when progression moves slower than the turn? All this going round in circles makes me nauseous. Is this the Matrix? Cause if you're Morpheus, I'll leave now. I'll meet you at the coordinates. I refuse to be subordinate or an ornament. When there's a war on the poor and less fortunate, the black mortality rates are disproportionate. Competing with each other like it was a tournament. While the elite are eating popcorn in the audience. The promises the politician makes are fraudulent. Still we wait for a glorious metamorphosis. Will the underdog ever be victorious? I'm just curious. Where'd we go from here? I got no idea. Do you know where we go from here? Where we go from here? I got no idea. If you see me at the crossroads, can you help me? Cause I'm feeling kinda lost, bro. They say I must grow. Where it's colder than Moscow, I kinda feel at home when my heart's roll. If you see me at the crossroads, can you help me? Cause I'm feeling kinda lost, bro. They say I must grow. Where it's colder than Moscow, I kinda feel at home when my heart's roll. Do you know where we go from here? I got no idea. I just feel like we're going around in circles. Tell me, do you feel the same? That nothing seems to change. I know they say patience is a virtue. I just wanna turn the page. Are we living in a cage? This world's got me feeling like a German. What's the aim of the game? How'd I stay in my lane when progression moves slower than a turn? Where we go from here? I got no idea. I just feel like we're going around in circles. Tell me, do you feel the same? And nothing seems to change. I know they say patience is a virtue. I just wanna turn a page. We're living in a cage. This world got me feeling like a German. What's the aim of the game? How'd I stay in my lane when progression moves slower than a turn? Progression moves slower than a turn. Yeah, man. You know? Just thinking out loud, man. Red pill trill. Where we go from here, man? Someone give me a map or something, man.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. We are at the Birmingham FEB Holy Grail Conference in Birmingham. I just said that, with Martin Liedtke, Dave Murphy, Mark Devlin, Autodidactic, Brian Stavely, my gorgeous sister Roxanne. We're doing the Wide Awake show live, actually in front of a live audience. And Roxanne, what we want to do for the rest of it really is we want to speak to people, don't we?
We do indeed.
We've got something set up so Roxanne can go around with her phone.
Yep.
And actually talk to people, and we can get some questions going, because I'm sure lots of you have got questions.
Yeah. I had a bit of a request while we were listening to that music for our first question of the evening, and that's going to be for Philip. Philip, I've got another awesome, amazing being that wants to ask you a question, so I'm going to come over here. Speak to you.
I hope that's not Simon then.
No.
Oh, Mr. Murphy.
What's up?
Mr. Murphy. Allegedly Dave, sir. Oh.
Okay, so I'm doing a little talk later on, and I'm going to be covering some of the something about Ukraine. And so this question might not appeal to most people because it's just me. So I want to know, why do you think, because you talked about child trafficking being open, why do you think there's so many orphanages in Ukraine?
Well, generally, we didn't have orphanages before 19th century, I believe. So the large number of orphanages and all these asylums and madhouse people, so-called people, diseased people, and so on, like hospital asylums, all this stuff started to be constructed in the late 19th century. So since then, we see rise in that, some kind of trend of people leaving kids, abandoning kids. I don't know why. The official explanation is very complicated.
It's sketchy, isn't it?
So anytime they do the reset, a bunch of kids gain left, and so some of them become concentrated in some certain places, and some can be spread out, and you can be found in the chronicles of Russia and Soviet Russia, where we have like 20 million kids running around the streets, and they were doing a bunch of crazy stuff. So the same is in Ukraine. The same is in Ukraine. Once you get this reset going on, there was a Russian Empire reset. Then it was Soviet Union reset in 1991 when all these countries spread up again. And you have Russia and Ukraine and a skyrocketing numbers of kids being left. So it's a reset consequence.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thanks for that, Dave. So that's our first question, Rich, to Philip. And as we go through the next section, if any of you have any questions, don't hesitate to raise your arm and we'll be able to interject with that. Over to you.
Hey, Phil. Redfly, why didn't you tell me you were coming on? I'm going to big this right up. Yeah? Got Epic Village singing in the house, and I didn't even know till like, what, half hour ago?
Yeah.
I
was caught in the middle of nowhere to be exactly on time for you guys to hear me.
Oh, thanks for popping by, mate. Been a while.
Yeah.
All about the coming together of it, Martin. It's all about the coming together of it. Right, I'm going to leave you with the mic.
Okay.
Just say hello to the audience while I pop this down.
Hello to the audience while I pop this down.
So we do have a question from Squirrel Sniper. Richie, can you ask Philip about the Wagner Group?
Well, it's folks that were related to Putin's personal cook, who is right now a very profiting businessman who has several businesses, including media, a bunch of internet websites that are working for him. So some of them related to Kremlin, some of them are independent. And he also has some military organizations, which are called private military campaigns. Well, Russia didn't have any, but with coming of Putin, he started this thing. And so right now we have several very professional private military campaigns which compete in Africa with French military campaigns in other countries and beat them and win new contracts in different countries.
Thank you for that, Squirrel Sniper. I'm thinking to myself, I've never heard of the Wagner Group, so that was some interesting information.
I've heard of Robert Wagner.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, they call themselves musicians because they are related to Wagner as a compositor, as a musician.
Oh, so Wagner.
They play music, is what they say, but actually killing people.
I have a question, Philip and Martin. Why is it important for people to take time out of their life and specifically look into Tartaria or Murderers? Why is it relevant?
I think it's a matter of taste. Some people couldn't care damn, could they? Some people don't really look into
it.
But
there is an important element to this, into finding out.
Well, it's just it's a massive thing. It's the fibre of humanity, our real identity, who we really are, and it's being like cloaked from us. And it's like there's nothing bigger in my head. I think when everything wakes up, I'm thinking like all of history wakes up simultaneously, like the whole thing. Wadam. That's what I'm thinking. So flip over, not just fixed to this now. The whole knows. wake up no more.
Thank you for that, Martin. And Philip, what would you say? Why is this so important for people to look into? Why is it relevant?
Some person said that the nations that don't know their history are a fertilizer for all the nations to grow on their place. So I kind of agree with that. So we are the whole big nation of Earth. We don't know our history, and we are the fertilizer for the new reset generations. You know.
Love it. So I've now got a question for the audience. Can I have a show of hands, please? How many of you were awake to these subjects pre-lockdown?
Right.
Percentage of the room. It's quite a good percentage of the room. How many of you woke up to a lot of these subjects after lockdown, once you'd had the time to discern fact from fiction? Time being the most important factor here. Love that. Thank you so much for your honesty as well. I really appreciate that. That's really what I want to segue into. Time. The lack of it. And being able to look into these subjects. Whereas before the lockdown, you would be in your job, you would have your family commitments, you'd try and have time to go for a walk in the park maybe, try and have time to, if you have a pet, walk and pet an extra time in the day, or just take 5 minutes out for yourself. Very, very rare in today's society. However, 2020 happened, March happened, the government told you where you could go, what you could do, who you could have in your house, who you could go and see. Loved ones passed away without their families around them, and swathes of the country complied to what the government had asked them to do. However, there was a bit of a silver lining in that grey cloud, one of which I was able to film the protests as they went across the country. We both reported on everything that was going on at the time, telling everyone what the mainstream media wouldn't. We were showing side-by-sides of videos of intensive care units, and we were explaining to people that American intensive care unit is not, that's the Italian one, that's exactly the same video. News stations were having to make retractions, they were having to be somewhat honest in their fraudulent campaigns to reach every single citizen, and as we've had before, have swathes of the country out giving the NHS big rounds of applause. So well done you all who have put your hands up since lockdown and waking up. I think we can all concur that you were given the extra time to sit down and discern fact from fiction. And it's very important for us to bring this up because you're all sat here now. You're not in front of any screens. You've come out in person to be here in person and to hear this information. And please put your hands up in a show of yes or no. Do you feel it's just as important to be here to network with other people as well as to get the information?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that. As I wanted our audience that are watching online to also see events like this and to see how important it is to maybe make the effort and come in person, as it's not as standoffish as you may think. I think I, for one, can feel the love in the room. I can feel all the smiles, all the love and appreciation. And I've had many interactions today about how happy people are to meet people that are like-minded. And I think it's incredibly important to not isolate yourselves amongst your friends and families and come out of that bubble and meet some other people that are like-minded. So yeah, thank you. Over to you, Rich.
Yeah, I basically, what you were saying about the, Tartaria, looking into these things, I think one of the best reasons to do it is because it's a subject that absolutely everybody, it doesn't matter where you are, where you live, you can walk out of your front door and within a 5-mile radius of where you are, there will be some sort of evidence there that doesn't, basically, it won't fit. The narrative will not fit. Whatever, the buildings, the tunnels, whatever it is, there'll be something within a 5-mile radius of where you are, probably a lot more than just one thing, that is evidence. You read the history, the official narrative about it, and you'll be able to see yourself that it's the evidence that we're all provided, that it's all the examples that we're showing, basically. You don't need to look on YouTube. You can go out your front door and see it. It's not like making observations of curvature, to try and see if the Earth is a globe or not. And it's not like trying to look at things in space. And it's not trying to research things that are in different countries, hundreds or thousands of miles away. it might be talking about things that have happened thousands of years ago, but it's right outside your front door, so you can go and see it for yourself.
Well,
Love that.
talking about connection, right? How all this stuff is connected, because resets are different types of resets. There's cataclysm reset, that could be a fire type of reset when they burn a whole city down and construct it all over again. You have a war type of reset when you can do it with a single country, multiple countries, or regional war, or can be even called a world war when you have different regions engaged and so on. So each and every type of reset has the same goal. 3Ds, I call it 3Ds, like 3 dimensions. So first one is degradation. Degradation is bringing down education level. So people are getting dumber, getting less information, less education. Second is deindustrialization. Sometimes they connect it with some change of epoch or some change of production level or something, machinery, technology, but it's always deindustrialization, when you get rid of ancient technology and start over with some new type of technology. And depopulation, of course. Depopulation, that's what they want each and every time. They want to get rid of these people that are so expensive and get more people that are less expensive, less
And also that's a way to erase the old story. They don't want all these people walking around who've got first-hand memories of the real truth. They want them gone so that it's easier to indoctrinate, blank
exactly.
slates, isn't it? So
that's what I'm saying. Degradation. This is educational question.
Yeah.
Science and education is all connected.
Love that. Absolutely love that. So we've now been going for 46 minutes. This time's flown, absolutely flown. And we really do want to include you all as much as possible. So if there is any Q&A that you want, if you want to ask anything, please raise your hands and we will come to you before the end of the show. I would like, if possible, Philip and Richard, I'm going to come over to Dave as well. I've got a question I want to ask you as well with regards to what we're talking about. But Philip and Rich, if you would kind of give us your call to action and closing speech before the end of the show, you can pick which one of you goes first, as we'll go after.
I'm going to let Phil go. I'm going to let Phil go first because I'm polite like that.
Well, if we talk about pandemics that we used to have like 2 years ago, exactly at the time Putin saved us all in February, and we forgot about that. So if we talk about this stuff, talk about lockdown, it was happening region by region, and then it was circulating back again. So it was returning to the same. Like we started with China, I believe. First hysteria was started in China, where people were dropping dead on the street and so on. Now we have the same. Shanghai is on a full lockdown for 3 weeks already. People screaming, people fighting, people have lack of food, lack of water. They don't leave their apartment buildings and so on. This is starting all over again as a plan B. If this war boogeyman doesn't work properly, for some reason, they may prolongate it for several years and, return to pandemics as long as it's going to be happy, resolving their goals that I've been saying, depopulation, degradation, deindustrialization. That's what they want. And they started it back in the 70s. That's exactly where you see all those graphs on different indexes are starting to grow. Like income is starting to fall, not only personal income, but household income. When back in the days, you used to have one person working and you can have a housewife not working, and you can have 3 kids which are going to college, and you have enough money for that. You have 2 cars, a house, and everything is fine. Right now, that's a rich guy. We don't have them anymore. There's no middle class like that, like we used to have in 50s and so on. So all this capitalism suddenly stopped working in the 70s when we started to push all the investments into one single country, which is right now is famous for being the economy #1, which is China. Yes, it's not beating USA in some parts of indexes, but its economy number one. It's a biggest threat to the Western society. But everybody trades with China. Nobody's imposing any sanctions on China. Nobody, they're just giving all the money to China for several decades. And now we have what we have. We have a big predator that is about to eat all the world. And all this is just a screenplay for us to be distracted, I would say. So basically, we have the end of the Western civilization and starting over with this Eastern way of, civilization, if you call it this way, with different terminology, different morale, different culture. All this stuff is about to change.
Yeah,
And they're about to get rid of us for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Philip. Over to you, Rich.
Yeah, basically, I'll just elaborate on what Phil was saying about this is how they do it. We're watching it in real time. We're talking about they've done it, and like Phil said, there's different types of reset. There's the big cataclysmic one that shakes the earth and everywhere falls down and people get killed. And then there's information resets, and there's been far more information resets than there have cataclysmic resets. And I think the most recent ones were not so much geological as they were informational. They used what was happening to basically change the narrative. And the only way that we are going to be able to counter this and basically rise above it is by making sure that we're informed, making sure that we're aware of our surroundings, making sure that we're connected to each other, so we speak to each other. We're not worrying or going by hearsay, or believing what the bloody media is telling us about what's going on around us. We can see what's going on around us, and all we have to do is just stop being afraid of each other, realize that we're all connected. We're men and women. We're not human this is another thing that people need to look into common law, what's it called? Maritime law, common law, corporate law, contract law. You need to look into all of these things if you want to get a handle on what's going on. If you don't want to get a handle on it, if you're not bothered and you just want to wait and see what happens, don't bother looking. But if you want to take control of what's happening to you, you need to be informed. There's no room for willful ignorance anymore. There's all of the facilities are there for you to be able to educate yourself as autodidactic. Be autodidactic, like Cam. Cam's channel, Autodidactic, one of the best channel names ever. That's the most important thing. And I know that really we're preaching to the choir with all of you guys that are here at the live audience in Birmingham, all of you guys that are watching on YouTube. I know really we're just preaching to the choir. You know this. You already know this, but please make sure you share this out as much as you possibly can and just spread the word.
Thank you, Rich.
Good.
Massive appreciation for that. I like that. It's a great call to action. And I'm really going to take on from there. The importance of this is something that we've never seen before in our lifetime. What we're seeing now is the old guard being pushed to the surface like we've never seen before. I think since the lockdown to now, we're seeing CEO resignations. We're seeing topics that would have been laughed out of the room a couple of years ago now being socially acceptable interactions. I think pretty much everyone knows that Disney's not there to help children. I think we know that the images and subliminal images that have been put out in Disney for a long time have been there to subvert people's minds. So again, that's something that would have been laughed out of the room a few years ago. People are now having socially acceptable interactions about the shape of the earth, about people having landed on the moon or not landed on the moon.
Mission accomplished, Rocks.
Massive.
That's what we set out to do 4 years ago.
If I'm being honest with you. So yeah, there's a lot of contentious topics that would have not been acceptable at a Sunday lunch, and you may have been asked to leave the family meal if you'd carried on talking about these things. There's now a genuine thirst for that information. And the turnaround has happened so quickly from 2020 to now that I think that many of you that are sitting there can kind of have your own testimony to having these interactions yourself. There's a lot less of Love Island talk and EastEnders talk, and now more talk of whether Putin's doing what the mainstream media. I just thought I won't say that on YouTube, but yeah, the narrative is putting out very, very outlandish claims. And your average person is now sitting there going, no, I've listened to this, I've looked into it a little bit, and it's not what it's, pertained to be. You've got people going out there online telling us that we're bathing in snake venom, making the truth community look quite silly at the moment, not substantiating it with any source material. So I think the more that you get into these lies that have been perpetuated, the more you start to see that there's controlled up, and you can see that your fellow friends, loving brothers and sisters, are getting sucked into these distractions. So yeah, I just want to give a massive amount of respect to you all for being who you are, having the interactions that you're having, and being here now. It's a self-evident truth to me that you're sitting here, and being here in person is showing us all that there is things that are turning around. Things like this were few and far between, and for me, a few years ago, this would have been a very niche event. Yeah. But it's not. Everyone understands that the Great Reset with Klaus Schwab's book, you don't need to kind of go very far before people are having solid interactions about the fact that all of this great show is just one massive disinformation campaign. Myself, I homeschool my youngest. My youngest is 14 years old. I pulled him out of the education system in 2020. For any of you that have friends or family that are looking into homeschooling, please come speak to me after. I've got a ton of groups for homeschooling. I've got my son on an amazing program. He's excelling more academically in the right things, not the wrong kind of indoctrination, which is what we are all starting to realize. The history that's being taught to our children and our loved ones, the science, as we all know now with the Rona situation, we all know that the science isn't solid. And we all know that with the shape of the earth, the science definitely isn't solid. So yeah, if there's any information that I can be of help with, don't hesitate to get in contact. It's operationrealness@yahoo.com, and I'm sure Rich will give you his email address as well. The show is on a few platforms at the moment. It's on Odyssey, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the rest of it. I'll let Rich tell you all those links. But yeah, we are basically here to tell you what the mainstream media won't. We're not censored. If there's information that we feel needs to get to the people, we'll either do it online or we'll do it on road. We've done a couple of tours. We've been involved with a lot of other collaborators here. We've been across this country. We've gone out to Europe. We've taken these most contentious topics out onto the streets. And that's probably where it will go back to, because we all know we're up against internet censorship. So I just want to say for myself, thank you very much for having us here today and allowing us to do this show and being a part of it. And as I said, before we close down, if there's any Q&As that you have, don't hesitate to put your hand up. Martin, I'm going to pass to you to do the call to action, and then I'm going to go over to Dave and finish off by speaking to Mark. All right?
Okay, yeah, thanks guys for doing that. That was fantastic. Thank you, Philip. Philip? Rich? That was fantastic, my brother. Thank you so much for doing that. Making the effort. Because, put you on the spot there to do all that live, and there you are, you did it fantastically, so do appreciate that. So, who's next, did you say, Dave?
Yeah, after you, just do a little call to action for our viewers that are watching online, please, my lovely, as to why it's important when they come out to events and meetups when they happen.
Am I the best person to say this?
You are. You've just done a tour all across the UK.
I know.
The rain and sunshine, and everyone's had a great time. So go for it.
Right, it's essential, to have some sort of support structure. Yes, once you're awake, your family don't want to know you really anyway. And, a lot of restrained relationships and stuff over different ideas of what they're standing on. How stupid is that? But I think it's essential that people network and talk and still the free people left in this place, people non-jacked in this place. They need to start talking, because I know Philip's sort of picturing a bit of a bleak picture, but the fact still remains, they do reset this place and they do wipe people out. It's happened in the past in Russia. Stalin went nuts on his population, as you know. He declared war on the countryside. So they can do that. But there's a lot of people in this place, okay? This is called purging the nations. They've done this over and over again. I wonder how many went in the last 2 years. Yeah, it seems like there's, like, you know, I don't know. Some people are saying it seems like there's a lot more people. It seems like it's a lot less to me. Yeah, a lot less. You know, the city streets always used to be, in my mind, a lot more busier. And you know, a friend of mine, you travel through. You know, he just drive there. He said he drives through Canary Wharf, and ordinarily it would be a hive of activities, like a ghost town where it is everybody. You know, I know a lot of people got sent home to go to work and stuff, but fact still remains. You know. And you know, when everyone was home in the summer, last summer of 20, was it last year? And it got quite hot, didn't it? So everyone's in their houses, and I know it's like you know, maybe for miles. It's like, well, I've seen one window open. Yeah, everyone's just sitting in the boiling hot. Are they in their houses, or are they all on their back? What exactly is going on here? You know, are they that petrified of the air outside that they're just smoldering in their houses in the middle of summer? Really, really weird. But you know, like, we're all going on what they tell us and little bits and suspicions of what we can get of information. I think they've done something. Well, it's 2 years. It's that magic trick of distraction. Watch this over here, or we're doing this over here, and everyone misses it. This is the trick. And the hospitals have had, like, you know, a field day, and this is what they've been doing all along. I've known this. Yeah, I've known what they've been doing for quite some time. And who mentioned the people who like passed away without any relatives? Is that not the sickest shit on earth? Where somebody works hard all their life, gets to the end of their life, and they can't even kiss their family goodbye. What kind of twisted, nutty stuff is that they've been doing? Yeah. So how many people? You know, we don't even know. So not that I'm gonna, you know, end on that note, but I'm just saying this is the whole idea of reset. But we do empower ourselves, don't we? And we do become better people, don't we? And we can just, like, you know, if we are the Indigo children to usher in a new era, if you like, I feel that is indeed the case. Okay, this information is never going to go away. It's just going to expand, and it opens out into new genres and fields all the time of discovery. So this thing is just, you know, massive, and it is important because you know, like, the mainstream are sort of sniffing around now and trying to get the narrative like they do with.
I'm trying to get it back under control. Thank you, Martin.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks guys. Much love.
Thanks
guys.
So before we wrap up the show, there's just a couple of things that we would like to highlight.
Dolly Jane Dreams on there.
Yeah, go for it. But you have to go over there because she's going to come on the mic on the echo. You have to, yeah. So, Dave, with what you talk about with history, I just wanted to segue because Dave's coming on later, and we've touched on a few things this evening that have shown people, new viewers alike, that what they've been taught is grossly untrue. How does this all come together in your world with Tartaria, Mudflood? Obviously, the eagle symbology has been there throughout everything. This, to me, all ties together within 3 degrees. But can you kind of give me your testimony as to why it's important that people come out in person and come to these events and cross over these subjects in the way that we do?
Yeah. Okay. Hello, everyone. Oh, come on. Hello, everyone. Yeah, it is important now more than ever because you know, our ability to find out information is being taken away from us. I don't want to go into a rant, but I don't know if you are aware that we're not on the internet that we used to be on. We're on a totally different internet now.
No.
Yes, we are.
Didn't know that.
Well, do you remember that the URL used to start with HTTP?
Yeah.
Now it's HTTPS.
Right.
Yes, that was that used to be a security protocol, yeah, which you had to pay for. They literally switched us to a totally different internet. The reason I know is because I was I've got my website and I use a control panel to change it. My internet provider said, "Don't use that control panel anymore. Use this new one." But I forgot. So I went in, made some changes to my website, went online, no changes. So I made more changes, nothing on the internet. Okay. Then I remembered the new control panel. I made a couple of changes with the new control panel. There they were on the internet. Wow. So I've got my whole site. Oh, and also I had some embedded YouTube links. Well, they stopped working because they had HTTP.
The old one.
So YouTube on the old internet had been shut down, so they weren't showing up. Okay.
That makes a lot of sense.
So
What's been happening?
Yeah. So literally, I can't get to my old site.
Neither can I. I can't get on my old channel.
Yeah.
And not only that, I can't even get on my, like, they literally erased like tens of thousands of Google pics.
Sure.
Yeah. It was just like 2 days ago, it just got on there, all gone.
So that was several years ago. Wow. They literally switched us overnight to a completely different internet where, well, wow, who knows what's gone?
Yeah, you know.
We don't know.
Explains a lot.
Yeah.
The other thing was I watched a Truth Stream Media. Anyone see Truth Stream Media?
No.
Well, look out for these guys.
Yes, one of my favourite channels. One of my favourite channels, Dave.
Well, Truth Stream Media, they put out a video about where is the rest of the internet? Okay.
Where's it gone?
Yeah, where has it gone?
Yeah.
Because Eric Schmidt, who is behind Google, once said that if you get more than one search result off of Google, it's a bug. Eric Schmidt, Google's supposed to be able to just give you the one answer. The one answer, yeah? Right, so if you do a Google search now, you're actually just getting the one answer now. Because, okay, you do a search for anything and you'll get millions and millions of results. We'll say, 5 million results. But what Truth Stream Media did was they started going, to page 10 and page 20 and so on and so on. And they found that there was only actually about 400 results. And they're all mainstream. So all the results with, John's blog, you won't find them anymore. They're gone. So this is the point. It's getting harder and harder to find information now. But you have information at your fingertips. It's called your intuition. Yeah. Knowing something without knowing how you know it. Yeah. It's real. It absolutely is real. I know it for a fact. Okay. Trust your intuition. Yeah. Because it will never let you down.
Lovely.
Okay. So that's all I'm saying.
Thank you so much, Dave.
Thanks a lot, Dave. Also, just before we come off air, I just want to let our online viewers, I know you all know that this is here, but we've got all of these wonderful products being sold here at the event. Thank you so much for being here, Donna. Can you give us a quick synopsis of the bits and pieces that you said?
Come and buy them, they're all for sale. Just stuff, silver, it's coming, everybody's got to sort of turn up to these things to keep them going. Otherwise, we're just still sitting looking at a glass screen all day, every day, wondering, filling our heads full of nonsense. So get out there and meet people.
Well said. Well said. Thank you, my darling. And we've got Mark Devlin here with some products over here. Thank you so much for doing this today, Mark.
Hello. Well, we got all my books from the Musical Truth series going through to volume 3, which has just been released. Got my novel, The Cause and the Cure. The next book I do is going to be a sequel to this, so it's going to be a work of fiction that's going to be loaded with truth bombs and spiritual teachings and such. And we've got some mugs here, and we've got some artwork from my daughters who are always on the hustle. Well, keeps them out of trouble sometimes, and away from the screen.
Bits and pieces online. Where can they get these bits and pieces if they haven't come to an event like this in person?
All my books are on Amazon, the Antichrist. But they are available from that source. But if anyone wants to get them from me direct, they can email me and I can post them out, post any of this stuff out.
Thank you so much. And we've got some bits and pieces around here. Britain's Hidden History, who I believe is going to be on later on. What bits and pieces have you got here, sir?
Well, again, I'm Ross, Britain's Hidden History, mostly the Wilson Blackett books. This is, we talk about it later, talking about resets and knowledge that was known that's just been completely suppressed, and they try to bring it back out. No, they've been suppressed, and you couldn't get the books, so I've been working with them to produce them. We edit them, so you've got all the way back to ancient Egypt, and how you can read hieroglyphs from the language. This book came out yesterday, so that's really good timing, which is all about the history of Britain, the migrations to this country. All this stuff was known up till a couple of hundred years ago. It was in all the books and Shakespeare and everybody. So there's a whole range of books on those kind of subjects. which you can look for me on YouTube, Britain's Hidden History Ross. That's me. Or if you want to buy stuff as well, it's the Cameroglyphics, which is a word made up. So it's a unique word because Cameron means Welsh people, as it were, and then the writing, so it's Cameroglyphics. That's how you read the hype, and that's the name of the website as well, cameroglyphics.com.
Thank you so much. So as you can see, there's a range of different things going on here at Martin's event. There's a wonderful vibe amongst the amazing audience that have been here all day. I, for one, would like to thank you for having us. We've come to the end of the show now. Massive shout out to all of the audience that are here. Massive love and respect to you all.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for doing that.
And you've all been part of the Wide Awake show's first ever live audience. And that's it. That's it. It's a wrap, Rich. You can.
It's a wrap. I'll tell you. Well, Rox, what I'd like to do, if it's okay with you, and for the benefit of the people watching on YouTube, if you can keep this one set up so that we can all watch Dave.
Yeah.
Because I know I'd definitely like to see what Dave's got to say.
Ross is on next. Ross is on next.
Yeah, no worries, brother. We'll keep it set up in the background. Other than
Fantastic.
that, players out. Thank you so much. You've been watching at the Wide Awake Show.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
We're going to have a little track now, ladies and gentlemen, on YouTube. And when it comes back, it's going to be David. Phil, I don't know if you want to stick around, mate, and watch David, Dave Murphy. But you are more than welcome to stick around, mate. So
I'll probably skip if you send me the records. That'll be fine. After that, I'll watch it. Okay.
Cool. All right, mate. Brilliant.
Yeah. See you guys later.
Thanks, dude. See you later.
Bye.
Coronavirus, they call it, because it's shaped just like a crown, and it's managed to keep the world indoors in every city and every town. It's brought us to a global standstill, this virus that we've had. Can't go and hug the ones you love, like your mum or your dad. I've seen four walls and I've kept my hands clean, turned off the news because the death toll's obscene. Funerals with no congregation, birthdays with no friends, big occasions go unmarked, no proper send-off for a loved one's end. Children's rainbows on the windows, finally love for the NHS. Don't forget to clap on a Thursday night, as if that'll repay a nurse's debts. Go to work, don't go to work, no words of real conviction. We could be the victims of a global crime, like some type of Orwellian fiction. It's okay to feel sad, it's okay to be afraid. These were not the plans we made. No words of real conviction. It's okay to feel sad, it's okay to be afraid. Like some type of Orwellian fiction. This was not the path we took. Revealed one family rich. But I feel fine. backbone of this world, not unskilled as if labelled due. Like the admirable Crichton, there'll be a social seismic shift through quizzes and streams on laptops, revealed long family rifts. The green signs say stay safe and stay alert as normality returns in stages. But as soon as I can hold your hand, I won't let go for ages.
Right, ladies and gents on YouTube, but we got, I'm not sure, I don't think Dave's quite ready yet, so we're going to play another track, and we, it's all being well, we're gonna come back with Dave and Dave's lecture to the group, so don't go anywhere.
Cooking soda, babe.
Right, guys, I'm really sorry, but unfortunately, we have lost the feed to Birmingham, so we're not going to be able to watch Dave Murphy. So we're going to call it a day. Thank you ever so much to all of you that are here, everybody that's come along. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope I hope that everybody's stayed entertained and informed. And we're going to see you again soon. So much love, guys. Thank you very much. Peace.
Thank you.